Now, if you told me you owned all of the Bitcoin in the world and you offered it to me for $25, I wouldn't take it, because what would I do with it? I have to sell it back to you one way or another. I mean, maybe I'd be the same people.
It's very exciting. Grayscale as well as Van Eck have both filed now, and it signals that there is a real demand to have the investment asset of Avalanche with various players. So it's super exciting for us. It also shows that confirms the technology of Avalanche, as well as it will have its place in the future of digital assets.
So you're at the DC Blockchain Summit this week, where industry leaders and lawmakers came together to talk about the future of crypto legislation. Let's start with the basics here. What was the general vibe in the room, given that we're in a very different environment compared to a year ago?
Well, actually, I wasn't at the summit, but I was at Capitol Hill meeting with a lot of senators and the representatives individually. And it was unbelievable momentum. In fact, I had great conversations with Majority Whip Emmer, as well as Representative Brian Stile, right while the Stable Act was being introduced. So they were very gracious with their time. The vibe is this. It's a real momentum. They want to be transparent about what they're doing. They are very serious about having clear regulations so that innovation and capital formation in the space can be back on shore. And they want to do it in a very responsible way. Representative Stiles repeatedly said, we want innovation on shore, but we want to make sure that the Stable Act also doesn't have any risk for financial stability in the system. So they were thinking about both sides. The version, the Genius Act, and the Stable from the House, I think there's one big difference, which is federal versus state. So those are things that need to be reconciled over time. I think there's one more big point here, is that I think some people in the Senate are a little bit worried that this needs to be have a little more beef on it, so to speak, in order to make sure that a Silicon Valley Bank type situation doesn't happen. With that said, though, I'm not sure that ultimately that responsibility is very important, but that ultimately may not be part of this act, could be part of a different one. Bring innovation in this space and the capital formation in this space and the jobs in this space back onshore. And we've seen a lot of companies start developing offshore, and we've seen that because the rules were just not clear here. Now, I think the U.S. has a great opportunity right now to set standards, just like it did in 1996 for the internet, and be the leaders in these standards. And if you are going to be the leaders in setting standards and having, hard rails, so to speak, as to what these rules are, or hard delineated lines, you will actually crowd out bad actors, which is actually the fear of a lot of the people who are not satisfied yet with all of these acts. So I can't emphasize enough times that Majority Whip Emmers in our meeting, it was so gracious at the time, said that he wants this stuff to happen in his words, nonpartisan way. He doesn't even use the word bipartisan. He uses the word nonpartisan. And he's working with Democrats like Soto to make the Securities Clarity Act, I believe, and work together on both sides happen. So it is really more bipartisan or nonpartisan than ever before. It could be better, but it's definitely moving towards that direction. Ava Labs and Avalanche is known for bringing real-world activity, real-world use cases on-chain. We've worked with financial asset managers like Apollo, T. Rowe, and banks. We've worked with JP Morgan, Citi, and fintech providers like Visa. So those players have real existing businesses in a different world. They cannot risk non-clear rules. So it is a big unlock for business innovation for Labs and Avalanche. Stable, I think there's only three big trends right now in the world of crypto. One is Bitcoin. Two is stablecoin product market fit. And the third one is tokenization of assets. And Labs is in the center of stablecoin activity, in the sense that all the stablecoins are on Avalanche, and the builders who will use those stablecoins like Apollo or a Visa are partnering with Labs. And also on the tokenization front, we help Apollo tokenize a credit fund. We've helped KKR tokenize a credit fund. So tokenization is also a big thing. Those are the two big ones that we're very excited for the progress we're seeing in terms of the clarity.
We are seeing Elon Musk's Starlink trying to at least make some inroads into the continent, especially in South Africa. Do you factor that potentially into the future business, potential partnership?
Yeah, I mean, if we talk about connectivity in the future, the MTN customer or business is always connected, no matter where they are. If they go into a remote location, deep forest, they go into the sea, or they're in some very remote kind of border area, they will always be connected. And we will arrange the technology such that the customer benefits from this always connected. So we'll use the wireless networks we have, we'll use fiber, we'll use LEO satellites. So in the way we think about the future, there is a position for the satellite. Now, the model that we've looked at and are beginning to work on is developing a partnership approach to kind of the LEO constellations. And there are many that are out there. And we're talking to some of them about how do we create a partnership where our customer, who is in the kind of developed areas where there's connectivity, the moment they move to an area where there's a limited or no MTN network, they will automatically be connected to a satellite. And so those sort of partnerships are the ones we're looking at. So we look at LEO satellites and constellations as an integral part of the future.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you're joining the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And also, guys, make sure you go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And you heard Warren Buffett, and we know he's doing nothing but playing the Hegelian dialectic. Wouldn't buy all the Bitcoin in the world for $25. And we know he said the same thing about gold. And as we saw, gold kept moving up, Bitcoin kept moving up, and we saw fiat dying. And we know Warren Buffett loves property, and don't get me wrong, property just keeps gaining value, but we know that's about to change. The only reason why you had the same house back in the day worth $30,000, $40,000, and now $500,000 to $600,000 is due to the Fed wanting to keep printing money. And now we're going to see all these assets get devalued. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you, we're going on a level playing field. And we have John Wu from Ava Labs says regulation is coming and stable coins are the big focus. Avalanche bringing real world utility use cases on chain. And Bitcoin was used as the narrative in order to push this new digital economy. But stable coins are the foundation of this new economy because they keep the Fed in control. And then plus, guys, we know with smart contracts, they're now programmable. So they can tell you what, when, and how to buy. And you have 3 to 6 months to spend them or poof, it's gone. And then also tokenizing assets. We know everything's going to be tokenized and put on blockchain. And that next phase will be the metaverse. So your life will be a video game. And guys, we know that is definitely biblical. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. Now we have MTN in South Africa getting ready for the digital transformation. And we know satellites are going to be a big piece of it. And that's why Elon is pushing Starlinks. And guys, remember, it's a plan. It moves in phases. They want us off the grid, off these towers, because the machines need it. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And with all this technology, and you add in satellites, they'll be able to read your thoughts and listen to your conversation. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. Now we can see the drums are preparing to beat even louder. We have Trump on Greenland, and we have to have it for international security. And we see the chess piece is moving, and a piece of history. Remember, guys, the past always comes back to the present. We had the German Nazis had invaded Denmark, and the U.S. came and occupied Greenland. They also offered them to buy it, and we had Putin give us a little history lesson on Greenland and Alaska. If you have the NWO book, you know all about Alaska. But they are clearly getting ready for Armageddon. Just like I stated, the only thing they're doing is moving the pieces around. Those who've been with me from the beginning know the Anthony Sutton videos I used to bring you. He had already mapped it out exactly what was going to happen, and the two sides have already been created. U.S. versus China battle. You have the U.S. falls with the U.S. reserve currency and the rise of the BRICS nations led by China with that digital yuan backed by that digital SDR. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
We need Greenland, very importantly, for international security. We have to have Greenland. It's not a question of, do you think we can do without it? We can't. If you look at Greenland right now, if you look at the waterways, you have Chinese and Russian ships all over the place. And we're not going to be able to do that. We're not relying on Denmark or anybody else to take care of that situation.
The delay, it's going to be a tough decision. So here's what Vladimir Putin said about our plans with Greenland, tongue-in-cheek. We will now allow encroachments on the sovereignty. We will not allow encroachments on the sovereignty of our country, and will reliably protect our national interests. What do they have to do with Greenland? Are they talking about Arctic?
Well, Vladimir Putin wants the world to believe that Russia is able to stand toe-to-toe with the United States militarily and diplomatically. So if there's an issue of interest to the United States, Vladimir Putin is just going to weigh in on it because, remember, he's talked about the greatest geopolitical disaster of the last century was the collapse of the Soviet Union. So he harkens back to those days when United States and Soviet leaders would gather and solve the world's problems. That's just not the way it is anymore, but he'd like the world to think it is.
В 60-е годы XIX века уже тогда американская администрация рассматривала возможность аннексии Гренландии и Исландии. Но эта идея не получила тогда поддержку Конгресса. Кстати, напомню, что к 1868 году в американских газетах высмеивали покупку Аляски. Она называлась...
There was a lot of criticism from Denmark, a lot of attacks at the Trump administration, at the president, at me, at others in our administration for saying the obvious, which is that Denmark hasn't done a good job at keeping Greenland safe. And one of the things I heard was, well, what about the many Danes who lost their lives in the war on terror fighting alongside the United States? Well, look, we obviously honor the sacrifice of our Danish friends in the war on terror.
Going to a different economy. And we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box, provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, well, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we can have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting it more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 kids books, is time to re-educate. Also, if new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance, do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID 33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.